All right. Excuse me. Good afternoon. Sorry, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whenever you are participating in virtual learning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Before I begin, friends, this is like the second or third time I have had just restart this video. Hopefully, this is it. I really hope that I make it through this experience. It's been a rough day, friends. But everybody has rough days. And the best thing to do with a rough day is to find a way to overcome it. So, with that being said, I am your host, Mr. Wheeler, for virtual online learning here at Dutro Elementary School. Um, this is the NNPS, Newport News Public Schools virtual learning plan packet number 6. I am covering the information for June 4th, 2020. Which is day 9, excuse me, which starts on page 15 if you have the packet online like me. This is our 11th week of online learning, and this is the last week with packets, friends. Next week is simply an opportunity for you to catch up and maybe send your teacher additional work if you choose to. So with that being said, this is our class pledge, friends. Please take a second or a minute or two, pause the video and listen, excuse me, and read and recite our class pledge, friends. Especially during these times, friends, where there's a lot of things going on in the world. I think it is a powerful thing to remind yourself that you are somebody, that you are capable, that you have things to do, that you have people to impress, that you have places to go, that you are somebody, and that your life has value, friends. Please know that Mr. Wheeler values your life. If you're listening to this video, I value your life, and I value what you will do for this world, and the potential you have to change the world, to make positive things happen for all people. So remember, friends, you are somebody. Um, and you are deserving of an education that will help you to change the world. All right. So with that being said, I want to do my best as your teacher um, to help you to learn some stuff today. Here are some pictures of some puppies because that's my thing. They make me happy. Hopefully, they make you happy as well. So with that being said, excuse me, I am on. If I can get this thing to work, I am on page 15, which starts day 9. We have 2 things to do for literacy or language arts, friends. We have some vocabulary work to do and some reading work. For math today, we're going to be talking about some things in regards to geometry, friends. So you guys have been talking about like polygons, and polygons is a fancy way of saying like a shape that is closed in, like a shape that doesn't have like any space. Like this is like a triangle, friends. If I open it up a little bit, that's no longer a triangle. So you have to like keep it like closed in order for it to be a polygon or a closed figure. And those closed figures are made up of a bunch of different stuff that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to get like even simpler, if that makes any sense, or yeah. And then we have some stuff to do for science where you can go out in the yard and play in the dirt and have a good time. Mr. Wheeler will not be playing in the dirt. However, it would be great if you did so. Go out and have some fun and play in that dirt. The weather's been great as of recent, so hopefully it continues to do so. Um, Shout out to my class. Shout out to my 20 friends. Shout out to the 80 kids in 3rd grade at Dutro. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with um, our vocabulary work, which, if you have your packet, starts on page 31. You are responsible today for answering, excuse me, these first 5 questions. If you have forgotten about like context clues work, please feel free to go back to last week's videos and rewatch and relearn and reteach yourselves about the different ways in which um, you can use the context of a sentence to determine the meaning of an unfamiliar word in the sentence. So, friends, you kind of use the words around the unfamiliar word to find out what that new word means. And remember, we had different kinds of examples last week. We had synonym, definition, and example clues that we could have used to find the meaning of the unfamiliar word. So let's go ahead and get started. The instructions are as follows. It says, read the sentences below. Read the underlined word in the sentence. Circle the answer choice that has the same meaning as the underlined word. Friends, this is a great way to develop your vocabulary. Whenever you're writing, friends, people love to use words like, I was sad or I was happy. But maybe we can come up with some better words like, or not even better, but just like, more like different words, friends, like, I was disappointed, I was frustrated, I was melancholy, instead of just saying, I'm sad, to like spice up our writing and to make it sound a bit more sophisticated. So when we learn these new words, friends, try your best to use them in your own writing. It's a great way to get better at writing and to increase your word knowledge. All right. So hopefully, friends, you will like after I read them, you will pause the video and try it on your own. To make sense of what's going on, friends. Remember, that's how you get smarter. If you solve the problem and you do so incorrectly, or you don't have the same answer as me, friends, remember that that is when your brain grows. Your brain does not grow when you get the answers right all the time. Your brain grows through trial and error. Your brain grows through making mistakes. So feel free to make some mistakes here, and do not be afraid to be wrong. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Number one says, the student replied to the teacher with a witty answer and the class laughed. So witty's our new word, friends. What I like to do, always feel free just to like stop me and try on your own if Mr. Wheeler's doing too much talking. Witty, sorry, what I like to do, friends, is to put the answer choices in the sentence and replace the word witty and see what makes the most sense, to see if I can just kind of like feel it out and see what makes the most sense. All right, so, and I'm also thinking critically about what's going on in my sentence. So the student is replying or responding to a question posed by a teacher. The student's response is witty and it causes the class to laugh. So I'm going to be thinking about that as I put my answer choices in my sentence. All right, the student replied to the teacher with a funny answer and the class laughed. Makes sense to me. If something's funny, you laugh. The student replied to the teacher with a mean answer and the class laughed. Students tend to be very sympathetic. I don't think they would laugh if a student is being mean. The student replied to the teacher with a word answer and the class laughed. Well, friends, witty, funny, and mean are all what type of words? They're all describing the answer, or could be describing the answer that the student gave. So, friends, words that describe other words are adjectives. But word, friends, is a thing, or maybe an idea, more so a thing. So it is a noun. So, friends, if I have an adjective here, it makes the most sense to put another adjective in that blank. And friends, the best answer, of course, is funny. If something is funny, you laugh. It's like cause and effect. If this will stay over here, perfect. All right, so the student replied to the teacher with a witty or funny answer, and the class laughed. All right. Number two, I looked at my brother with a glare after he broke my toy. I'm going to go in with the words and see what makes sense. I looked at my brother with a confusing after he broke my toy. I looked at my brother with a dirty look after he broke my toy. I looked at my brother with a difficult after he broke my toy. So, friends, if I'm thinking about what makes sense here, my brother has broken my toy. I'm thinking about the kind of emotion that I'm feeling. I'm probably not going to be happy. So the way that I'm going to look at my brother will express my frustration or my discontent. So I'm not going to look at him with a confusing, because friends, glare is a noun and confusing is a or an adjective. So I wouldn't put another adjective in that blank. I wouldn't look at somebody with a confusing. It doesn't quite make sense when you say it. That's because we don't have the correct part of speech in the blank. I wouldn't look at my brother with a difficult either, because difficult is another adjective. But I might look at him with a dirty look if he has broken my toy. I might look at him and not be pleased with him. So I might give him what's called a dirty look, or like a mean look. It's nothing to do with like being clean or dirty. All right. Number 3, fireworks on the 4th of July give off a beautiful glimmer in the sky. Fireworks on the 4th of July give off a beautiful glow in the sky. That makes sense because oftentimes when I think about fireworks, they're at night and they kind of like make the sky glow, or they like lighten up the sky. Fireworks on the 4th of July give off a beautiful bright in the sky. That it sounds like it makes sense because fireworks can be kind of bright, friends. But glimmer here, friends, I have the word a, which is technically an adjective. I have the word beautiful, which is an adjective. Um, and then I have the word glimmer. So, friends, if I have these two adjectives that are preceding or coming before this word, we know that oftentimes, not always, that adjectives come before nouns. So, glimmer is a noun. And then this is an adjective, so it doesn't make sense. I wouldn't give off a beautiful bright. Then fireworks from the 4th of July give off a beautiful look in the sky. Friends, this is tricky because that makes perfect sense. However, we have encountered the word glimmer in our work this year with learning new words. And friends, that glimmer means like a shine, or something that sparkles. So the best answer here, or at least the best answer to me, friends, is glow. Something that kind of glows in the sky. It might be a bright glow, but I think that's the best answer. If you say look, friends, is the best answer. If it makes sense to you, yeah, but like glimmer really doesn't necessarily like imply or mean like look. So I do think glow is the best answer. That one's kind of tricky. All right, number 4. When we go camping, my father will ignite the fire so we can roast marshmallows. So friends, begin to visualize. You're camping. The father has to do something to the fire so that you can roast marshmallows. So is your father going to start the fire? Well, that makes sense. We can't roast marshmallows if the fire's not started. Is your father going to call the fire? I've never seen anyone call fire. There doesn't make any sense, friends. Is your father going to see the fire? Um, yeah, he might see it, but how's that going to help me to roast marshmallows? So the best answer is start. I need to start the fire in order for things to get hot so I can roast marshmallows. All right, last one. Number 5, he chose to delete the unhealthy foods from his meal and make better choices. So friends, unhealthy, it has that prefix un, which means not. So he chose to delete the foods that are not healthy, and he's making better choices. So let's put the answer choices in, and see what makes the most sense. So he chose to include. So friends, when you include something or somebody, that means like you make it a part of whatever you have going on. So I don't think that he's going to include unhealthy foods and make better choices. That's counterintuitive, or like the opposite. He chose to make more of the unhealthy foods. Doesn't sound like a good choice. He chose to remove the unhealthy foods from his meal and make better choices. That makes the most sense to me, friends. He's going to delete or remove those unhealthy foods from his meal and make better choices. And oftentimes, friends, when you see the delete key on your computer, if you like click it, typically, friends, things go away because you are removing them. So that makes the most sense to me. So that is part 1 of our learning target for language arts today. We had to use the context of a sentence to clarify the meaning, or to pretty much like figure out the meaning of an unfamiliar word. So there we go. There's that. All right, on to this article. And I really like this article. It says, read the article. Below the passage are 3 headings. After reading the passage, place each heading above the correct section of the article. So what I did, and I wrote this in here so I wouldn't forget, I just moved the headings from the end of the passage to right here. The headings of my passage are temperature, rain and snow, prairies, dunes and deltas, and a thin layer of topsoil. My title was How Soils Form. So that means overall, like the main idea of what I'm reading about is going to be about how soils form. However, when you have headings in a text, headings kind of break the text up because you might be talking about like many different things in like that big main idea of like how soils form. But what I love about headings, for instance, because is they kind of, sorry, I got tongue tied, is they kind of like provide you with like miniature main ideas to like the specific, sections in the text. So everything right here that I've like on my screen right here falls under this heading. So whatever's under here is kind of like a main idea for what this is about to talk about. Same thing here, like these paragraphs, the main idea is kind of told to us in the heading. Same thing right there. All right, and sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Friends, headings can be oftentimes misleading. Sometimes they're not. They should oftentimes give you good clues as to what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading. This is just the stuff at the beginning of the passage. This doesn't fall under any heading. It says, dirt or soil is really important. Just about every plant you eat was grown in soil. Like air and water, soil is necessary for life. Without soil, plants could not grow. Animals that rely on plants could not live. Soil is full of pores or gaps. It also has pathways called channels. I'm sorry, I forgot to say it. Try to read the passage before me and then go back and listen to me read it. All right, I want to keep going. So now, friends, I know that this is my first heading. So that means that everything I read until that next green box, I need to be thinking of what it's talking about. And I need to be thinking, is it going to relate more to temperature, rain, and snow, prairies, dunes, and deltas, or a thin layer of topsoil? So let me go ahead and start reading. It says, only a thin layer of soil can support plant life. It's called topsoil. In most places, topsoil is only about 15 centimeters or 6 inches thick. Replacing lost soil takes a long time. It takes 500 to 1,000 years to make 2 and 5/10 centimeters, 1 inch of topsoil. That's why people must protect soil. They must also prevent erosion. This is when soil is stripped away from unprotected land. Soil is made from minerals. It is also made from organic matter, which comes from living and rotting organisms. Organic matter contains a lot of carbon. So, friends, think about what we read. That was mostly about what in particular? Hopefully, you're answering at home. So, friends, was that more so about temperature, rain, and snow, prairies, dunes, and deltas, or a thin layer of topsoil? Well, friends, I see the word topsoil several times in that section. So, hopefully, friends, I'd be sad if I was wrong. Let's see. Hopefully it's about a thin layer. Yep, there we go. A thin layer of topsoil. Perfect. All right, let's keep going. Most soil was carried by wind, rivers, or glaciers from one place to another. One example includes fine dust and silt that was formed by glaciers. It creates fertile prairie soils and dune soils. Rivers can also move soil to surrounding areas such as deltas. These areas are rich and productive for growth. Broken down rock can also form soil. It settles in layers. The most broken down material is at the top. The unchanged rock is at the bottom. So, friends, my remaining headings are temperature, rain, and snow, prairies, dunes, and deltas. So, friends, if I see the words prairies, dunes, and deltas, more than likely, this is going to be about prairies, dunes, and deltas. All right. So, friends, by process of elimination, we should be able to determine our last subheading, our last heading. Well, we still need to read so to make sure it makes sense because I might have made a mistake. All right. Weather and climate also affect soil development. Temperature, rain, and snow play a big role. In dry Oh my goodness. In dry regions, temperatures change from day to night. This causes rocks to crack into smaller pieces, it should say. The size of soil particles differs. And there goes the title heading because I messed up. The size of soil particles differs. It depends on how much materials have weathered. Gravel and sand have larger particles than silt and clay. And friends, our last heading is temperature, rain, and should say snow. Or is it soil? Let me get back up and check. Temperature, rain, and snow. Perfect. And friends, we see the words temperature, rain, and snow right there. So that makes sense to me. Hopefully, it makes sense to you, friends. So essentially, friends, we did a bunch of different things in our exploration of this text. We used text features to kind of help us understand what we were talking about because the headings are text features. And we kind of like found some main ideas, friends, and made sure that our text made sense. We also know, friends, that because we're kind of talking about main idea, that this passage is most likely fiction or nonfiction. Those of you guys that said nonfiction got it right. All right, so that is it for literacy. Um, Friends, honestly, I really enjoyed doing that, but it's the end of a long day. Um, I'm sorry about it, friends. Y'all deserve Mr. Wheeler at his best. All right, so it says for math, it says in third grade you learn about polygons during your geometry unit. During this unit, you also learn about points, lines, line segments, rays, and angles. And friends, honestly, um, students that don't have any sort of like background knowledge about what those things are, the best way to kind of understand, friends, is to just learn what they are and to keep talking about them until they make sense. You simply just kind of like have to practice. So I am going to introduce these terms to you, and hopefully they begin to make more sense. So I wrote like a couple of notes right here. So it says geometry. We are discussing some basic geometric elements. Many of the things, it should say, we discussed they are important because they make up polygons or shapes and are found in real life. So remember, friends, polygons are, shapes like this. Square, maybe it's like a rectangle. We know that all squares are rectangles, triangles. All of these things, even this star, are polygons. Friends, polygons refer to any closed figure made up of line segments. They have to be made up of line segments, friends, in order for it to work. You can't have any curves and you can't have any openings in a polygon. That was super, super important. And honestly, I just forgot what I said. So please rewind the video to understand what a polygon is further. However, before we really talk about polygons, we kind of need to understand like what they're made up of. And that's why what we're discussing today is super important. So what I did was I made some cards. And there's like a little chart in your packet, but I made some cards to kind of help me understand what's really going on. So, friends, I have these following vocabulary words. And what I'm going to do is match um, each of these things to one of these vocabulary words. So, friends, I'm looking here. I see what a line segment looks like. I see what an angle looks like. I see what a ray looks like. I see what a line looks like. And I see what a point looks like. Friends, I'm going to let you know right now, if you see an arrow somewhere, please draw those arrows. If you see these little dots, friends, please draw those dots, because if you don't have those dots or those arrows, it becomes very difficult to know what you're talking about. So we are going to work through these cards in a natural sort of way and kind of see what makes sense. All right, so two rays that have a common endpoint. I don't know what a ray is yet, so that really doesn't make sense to me. Part of a line has one endpoint and continues on and on in one direction. So friends, if it's part of a line, I know that it's not going to be a line. So I'm going to move that over for a second. This is another one that says part of a line has two endpoints and includes all of the points between the two endpoints. Okay, another part of a line one. A collection of points going on and on indefinitely. Sorry, a collection of points going on and on infinitely in both directions. I'm not quite sure what that means. An exact location in space with no length or width. So, friends, I'm going to start with this one. If I'm thinking about an exact location in space with no length or width. Friends, length refers to how like tall something is or how long something is. Width refers to how wide something is. So friends, if you're looking at these things, all of them have like, well, most of them, not all, most of them have length. Like you can see like how long these things are. You can see this line segment has some length. You see this line has some length. This angle has some length here and here. So, friends, I only see one thing that has like no length or width. That's just an exact location, friends, and that's a point. A point is an exact location in space. It's not long, it's not wide. It is one exact, specific point in space. You can take your pen and use like your pen or pencil, go like that on your paper. That one point in space, that one location in space, friends, is a point. So, friends, a point is an exact location in space with no length or width. So, friends, it makes sense for me to go talk about this one next. Um, a collection of points going on and on infinitely in both directions. So infinitely means to go on forever and ever. So if it's going on forever and ever in both directions, we kind of understand directions by the arrows. So friends, when you're looking at these, which of these looks like it's going to go on and on forever and ever if you look at the arrows? It is the line. So, and friends, this is always like hard for like Mr. Wheeler to understand too. But if you have like a bunch of points, like you can pretend my fingers are points. If this is a point, this is a point, this is a point, and I just like had a million billion fingers and they were all like straight. All of these points come together to kind of make a line. And that's really honestly a really bad example, but it's the best I can do right now, friends. So if you have a bunch of points, like point, 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 and they're all together and they're all straight, friends. They're aligned. They're aligned. And they go on forever and ever indefinitely. That means they do not stop. These arrows mean that it's going to continue to go on. And we do that, friends, because technically lines do not stop. That's kind of like hard to imagine, friends, but lines do not stop. This line goes on forever and ever and ever in this direction, like past where my computer is going. Same thing, this line goes on forever and ever and ever in this direction as well. Lines do not stop. Lines do not stop. So, friends, let's start looking at some of these points. I'm sorry, not points, these parts of lines. So, this one says a part of a line, it has one end point. So, friends, an end point, that makes sense to Mr. Wheeler. It's a point that's going to end something and it continues on and on in one direction. So it means if it's only if it's only continuing on and on in one direction, I'm only going to see one arrow. So where do I see only one arrow? I see one arrow on these rays right here. So these friends, these points are called endpoints because there's nothing else going past them. And they're going on and on and on in one direction. They are called rays. All right. So let's see, a part of a line that has two endpoints, friends, and includes all those points between those two endpoints are called line segments. Most polygons, friends, are made up of line segments. If I go back to my rectangle example, this rectangle is made up of 1, 2, 3, 4 line segments. Because these are parts of a line, they stop. Like there's like 4 endpoints on this as well. There's also 4 angles, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So friends, 2 rays that have a common endpoint. When you bring 2 rays that look like this, friends, you bring them together, friends, those are angles. So this is an angle. I also believe that 2 line segments can come together to form an angle as well. I could be wrong, but I want to say that they do. So when you see like these 2 rays and they come together and they meet at this common endpoint, and they like stop and they don't continue, friends, you have what's called an angle. Like you can make an angle with your hand, and I'm doing so really bad. Like this is like what's called the right angle. And you can have angles that go like this, or they can be um, wider. So, friends, what I suggest you do is to watch this again if it made no sense. Um, to go like maybe to the packet and read over the information and maybe make cards of your own at home, so that you can like match these definitions to these pictures, because I think it's super important to not only like understand what they mean, but to like understand what they look like. So what you now have to do is think about some of these things in real life. So, for instance, it says geometry in real life. Points. Where do you see points in real life? Like, you have like those circular round magnets. A bottle cap kind of looks like a point. It's one exact. I'm trying to find a bottle cap. One exact location in space. Boom, that's a point. Like a push pin, buttons on a microwave, the top of a chair spike, maybe like the chairs like we have at school with like those points on the end. The tip of like a pen or a pencil, friends, those are definitely points. A line segment, it says like a space bar on a keyboard, a shelf. Your legs, friends, are line segments because they don't go on forever and ever. A door handle, maybe like one of those ones you like pull down, not one of those ones you twist. A pencil, the edge of a paper, piece of chalk, like railings, which are those things like on stairs. Um, and window blinds are all examples of line segments. Um, for an actual line, it says time because time does not stop. It just goes on and on, friends. So, but it's kind of like a difficult one to make sense. The equator, which is the imaginary line that goes around the center of the Earth. The prime meridian, which is the imaginary line that goes this way around the Earth, that goes vertically around the Earth. The universe, a toy railroad track because it continues to go on and on, in the orbit of the planets. Honestly, friends, I really kind of like disagree with a lot of these, but it made sense for the other ones. Lines just don't stop. Time honestly is the best example. Array, like a flashlight. If you think about like the way a flashlight turns on, like friends, from my understanding, like light kind of can continue just to travel. So it does kind of go on and on forever in one direction. Sun rays, projectors, and then arrows. You look at this arrow, friends, it is a ray. And then I just like made this example. Like you take a pair of scissors and kind of like open them up, the blades kind of create an angle. So there you go. Here is just another set of useful information. If you didn't maybe understand it when I was talking about it earlier, maybe these definitions will also provide you with some clarity or some assistance. And then this is what you're supposed to do today. So your task is to try and make examples of these geometric terms using things found around your house. So if you want to go back up to what I was talking about earlier, you are free to do that. You can use things like paper, yarn, rulers, noodles, and cereal. You can use other things as well. Make sure that your art matches the new terms we have learned. If you don't have those things, I'm saying, friends, I think it's okay to just go ahead and draw them in your notebook. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much it for math today. What I would really hope that you do is that you kind of like go back, friends, and like match these up, make them make sense, make them make sense. I would really suggest that you go make your own flashcards and think about what makes sense. Um, yeah, I think that's super important to what we're doing here today. I'm not sure why I'm even um, messing with this. All right, there we go. And last but not least, we have science. I'm going to read the instructions, friends, and then you should go out in the world and conquer and learn and um, be in charge of your own learning. All right, so it says take a closer look at the soil around where you live and make observations. Use your sheet from the reading assignment to help you. So go back to how soils form and use that as well. It says use a tool. I can say that word. Use a tool to dig up a small clump of dirt where you live. Small clump, friends. You need to dig a lot. Um, Spread the dirt on a paper plate or a piece of paper so you can see all of the little bits. You might want to do this outside, friends, depending on what your parents say. Number three, make an observation. Oh my God. And record your Make an observation and record the answers to these questions. All right, it says, describe the dirt pieces, color and shape. Is it the same color and shape or different? Then it says, are there any pieces of rock or sand in your clump of dirt? What does the clump of dirt smell like? Are there any living things in the dirt? Um, yeah, answer those questions and report back to me. And then it says for a challenge, compare several clumps of dirt from areas around where you live to see if the color, small bits, and smell are the same or different. So you might want to, like, if you have a front yard and a backyard, you might want to check both of those. If you live in a neighborhood and there's like a playground, you know, you might want to go like see if you can just find some dirt there as well. And it says be sure to wash your hands. Friends, I hope that you are washing your hands a lot anyway, considering all that is going on. Please stay safe. Um, so yeah, that's it. Thank you if you have watched the whole video and have made it to this point and you were listening to Mr. Wheeler. I really appreciate everybody that watches the videos every week. It makes me it's the closest thing I have to school, so I've been holding on to these videos um, even though it's not the same as being in school. But it's the best we can do right now, and we're doing the best we can with what we have. I think this is the last video I will be doing. So thank you to everybody who's been watching. A special shout out to my 20. If you've been watching, thank you so much. Know that your teacher cares about you and know that your teacher loves you. And I will see you all hopefully in the fall when you guys will be big fourth graders. And yeah, keep learning. Please keep reading every day for 20 minutes, friends. If you're worried about, oh, I'm not going to remember what's going on or remember like how to go to school, friends, always read. Always read. That's one of the best and easiest things you guys can do because all of you guys are great readers. So with that being said, that's all that I have for you this evening. Thank you very much for your participation, and I will see you guys later. Bye.